Hey, today's video is about the least minimalist part of my room, which is my bookshelf, this one. I think in some other video I said that I would be keeping some books. I had much more books than this. I had like 4 times as many. And I want to keep these books because I don't want my kid to grow up without looking at books. I just want her to know and see that we're a book reading kind. I honestly don't really mind having a lot of books, even as a minimalist. I wouldn't mind having 4 times as many books, like 1,500 books, which is what I had. And that's actually not that bad, just having them in your apartment, because like a bookshelf is usually a very tidy place. I mean, this one not, this is why I'm making this video. And I invite you all to, declutter with me. If you have some part of your apartment or room or whatever, and you just want some company, here I am. I brought some boxes here and a paper bag. So we're going to get rid of the paperwork that I still have up there, I think. And I'm going to show you some of my books and why I keep them and why I like those books. And hopefully when I'm done, there's going to be a lot more space in this bookshelf, or I don't know, space for other things, because I don't really want it to be empty. That would look just weird. And also I want to kind of repair it because as you can see, this thing is really tilted to one side. And I kind of don't want an scoop bookshelf. I made this myself and obviously I was lazy. So I want to unlazy this with these tiny little L pieces here. I'm gonna screw them in the back to make it perpendicular. Okay, let's go. Goodbye. Those are all receipts, and I usually file them, but I didn't have time to do it in the last few months. There was just too much stuff going on. I definitely want to put them in my 2020 files and probably look through them to see which ones I can use to get something back from filing my taxes. Oh crap, can you believe it? Shit. Okay. So it's like, if you feel like you're a messy person, look at this. Look at this. These are dry flowers that I just picked off the street, and there are the seeds in there. They just fell out on the floor, and I've been procrastinating with, like not cleaning this up for a while now, and it was just on this shelf and I wanted to get rid of it for a long time. So I guess this day has come. I'm not even gonna try and make this like some premium quality video. This is just for, let's say, community purposes. For real, I am imagining you sitting at home, being bored, wanting to declutter some stuff and just wanting company. So, because procrastination, no motivation, decluttering is boring. I actually don't enjoy it most of the time. I mean, I enjoy the process of making something nice and neat, but I don't really enjoy all the dusting and the messy things and just going through my stuff. And it annoys me a lot that when I declutter stuff, that I am confronted with the fact that even as a minimalist, or I don't know, wannabe minimalist, after that you're probably done with me. So even as a wannabe minimalist, it is so hard to just maintain that status, to just maintain that order sometimes, because things just come into your house and you can't really do anything about that. Or maybe you can if you're some superhuman and you're just like decluttering everything right away. Maybe I should do that. I would like to do that actually. I think that would be great, but yeah, it's not going to happen tomorrow. So here you see real life stuff. Okay, these are my Optics magazines, because I am an OSA member and I'm not gonna declutter them. Also, my kid likes to read them. And then here is like a physics journal that I get all the time. And usually I declutter them after half a year. And before I do that, I go through something like a reading marathon, and I just get all, oh man, I gotta read those magazines. I didn't read them for half a year when the articles in there were actually new, so I'm just gonna read them now. And usually that happens if I have to go somewhere to, I don't know, the lab, uni, work, and it also only works when I got time to read, like on the train, which I usually don't, because the train is super full in the morning. You can't really sit, and so no reading usually. But now, in times of the 2020 apocalypse, I actually can read. So yeah, those are gonna go back on the top of the bookshelf. Nothing, and I just didn't finish that sentence. There's chocolate on that. I'm not sure if I should publish this video, screwing with my whole minimalist vibe. But, you know, maybe sometimes it's good to not be perfect, because we're all getting there at some point, right? So, I mean, I was at that point where I had so much less than this. But I actually need a tablet for, you know, drawing. But it's in my bookshelf because I don't want to have it on the desk all the time. Here is another beautiful thing that you can't have if you're an extreme minimalist. And these are bookmarks that I actually use for the real books that I have. Hey, I'm not hating on anyone, right? Okay, so this is just like my sarcastic way of being, so please don't take it personal or anything. But, you know, just maybe I'm justifying this to myself a little bit so I can be happy about not being too extreme anymore. On the other hand, I often find myself in this whole circle of questioning what I actually need and what actually makes me happy. And there are times when I think, no one needs those books. No one needs that many books. But then again, there's stuff like this. That's Marx's Capital, and I got it from my granddad. So my grandpa actually had a lot of books like this. I also got some Lenin, and I'm not going to give those away, even though I'm not really a communist. But he cared a great deal about those books, and I'm just keeping them to remember him, because he had this huge library in the living room, and no one was allowed to touch the books. Like, there was one area I was allowed to open as a kid, and one book that I could take out of it, which was Robinson Crusoe. And that was the only book that I actually remember from that library as a kid. And when my grandfather died, I kept these, and I will always keep them and leave it to my own kid to decide whether or not this would still be important to her, as she doesn't really know it anymore. But, you know, as long as I live, I'm going to keep those books, and it doesn't hurt me a bit. And yeah, maybe I'm going to read some of it, you know, like it's world literature after all. Then here's like a whole pile of children's books. Yeah, and my kid is reading them on a regular basis, so I'm going to keep most of them, or all of them. This is even from when I was a kid. Look what fancy books they made in the GDR actually. Like, this looks so furry and fluffy, and some kid, it was not me, drew all over that. I'm definitely gonna keep it. This is history, people. Yeah, how can you not keep that? So then, and there are books that are just like sentimental items. This is Milan Kundera, The Unbearable Lightness of Being. And I think this was one of the most important books for me when I was younger. I read this book, and I just really adored this book, how it laid out all the possibilities, how life can go, and how tragic and beautiful even in that tragedy life can be. So, you know, I think this is a great book, actually, especially if you're a young person. These two books are also kind of memorabilia, or books that just influenced my personal taste in literature and my life and thoughts when I was younger. This is Gottfried Benn, who is mostly known for his poetry, I guess, and there's some prose here and there's some poetry there. He was a doctor, and I think he worked in the military, but he also treated a lot of STDs. So you can totally tell from his poems, because, yeah, they're morbid. I like morbid poems. Oh, and these are my favorites, you know, like, those are definitely books I'm gonna either pass on to friends or to my kid, or maybe read again sometime. These are books from Irvin Yalom, who is a psychiatrist, and he's very famous. If you don't know him, check him out. He wrote very interesting books about psychiatry and group therapy, and I just really like his books and also his books on therapy. So these are gonna stay and go back in the bookshelf after I'm done fixing it. This is another book that I want to declutter. It is about Poland and more written like a novel than an actual guide. And it tells the story of a guy who travels to Poland. And I bought that because I actually have some roots in Poland, and I was thinking about visiting the country and going to these places, but I kind of couldn't find the time in 5 years, and there are so many other countries that I want to visit first. Sorry if you're from Poland, and tell me where I should go if you think I should. But this is going to go to the donation box. This was also kind of an impulse buy, and it has kind of not been of any use to me. These are my medical books from my studies, and when I was a nurse, I actually wanted to become a doctor, but I decided that physics is just so much more interesting than medicine. You don't have to walk around in a hospital all day and be yelled at by your superiors and be disrespected for like 10 years until you get like a teeny tiny little bit of respect. Okay, I wanted to go to the lab anyway. I didn't want to work with people, but standing in the lab all day is also no fun. And yeah, so I'm not sad about that. But I kept those books because they are quite informative. If I'm talking to someone about some anatomy problem or something, I can always just pull out my book and show them. Also, the drawings in that are really good. So if you want to explain something, they are very useful, and you can't actually find such good drawings online. And I also, the same as with the Google Maps and Wikipedia and all those things, I don't want to Google all the time. I don't want to search for stuff online if I can just pull out a book and show the person, because we're sitting here on this very couch. So no, this is gonna stay. Biochemistry is also gonna stay because I actually like to look up stuff in there. This is a physics book, the Feynman lectures. And this is a psychiatry book because I actually wanted to go into psychiatry for a while after being done with becoming a nurse. But it turned out that they only had like 20 hours per week offer. So I wanted to work 40 hours, and so I didn't take that job offer. Anyway, I still like psychiatry, and I like to look up this kind of stuff in my books. So I know what I'm talking about. And I'm very interested in how the brain works, how human behavior works. And yeah, that's just a hobby of mine today. Yay, there we go. The first one is empty. Oh my god, this video is going to be forever. Classic, Catcher in the Rye. Who of you read this? Do you read this kind of stuff in school in the US, you know? Because we have to read it in school sometime. Oh, and these. Oh, I love these. These are all my Hesse books from Hermann Hesse. And I was big time into that author. I remember that when I was in school, I had already read all his books, and the German teacher was like, okay, now we have to read Hermann Hesse Unterm Rad. This one. And I already had it, and I was like, okay, done. This is Imre Kertész. It's also a very good book. I don't know what it's in English. In German it is Roman eines Schicksallosen. It is a story about the Holocaust and the survivor of the Holocaust. So this is like a very interesting and good read. So, oh, and here we go with more classics. That is Mark Twain. Who of you has not read anything from Mark Twain? Because I kind of grew up with this, like Tom Sawyer. Yeah, that was famous even in the GDR. Now this is my all-time favorite. It is called The Paper House, or The House of Paper, maybe, I don't know. It is by Carlos Maria Dominguez. This book is just so brilliant. Everyone who loves books should read this, because it is basically about the life of a crazy book lover. And yeah, it's an amazing book. If you love reading, read this book. There's more Mark Twain here. This is Huckleberry Finn, actually. Yay, I'm almost done. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't look like that. It looks like only half of it is done, but that's not true, because like this was the biggest mess and all the stuff on top of it. So now that I'm done with that, it's gonna be pretty fast. These books are all from my studies, from when I studied physics, and I kind of need all of these books. They are so gonna stay. I also like to look at these books. I like to have them in my bookshelf. They remind me of the fact that I actually made it through studying physics, because I mean, I was a nurse before, and it was really a big shift for me to go to the university, and after having worked for a while and, you know, not being so much into learning anymore, just more like working. And after work, you go home and you're done, and you're not like, you don't have to think about anything anymore. But when you study, when you go to university, it can be so exhausting. And I always thought that, you know, like working as a nurse would be exhausting, and I was tired in the afternoon and I went to bed early all the time. But actually studying physics was just as hard physically, just as hard. I think in the first week of studying, I went home and I had a headache every day, such a bad headache. And it went on for weeks until, you know, I started to relax. This is scary. Can you see this? Oh my God. And these are the last ones. Jewish prayers, Torah. A genius book about how medicine developed. Like it's called The Century of Surgeons. This is such a great book if you ever come across this in another language. I'm going to link all the books that I named below. So if you want to read something like that. I think that's it. I did it. Okay, now I'm going to repair the bookshelf with these. And then I'm going to put everything back in. And these are the books that I'm gonna get rid of. It's really not that many, but it freed up a lot of space, so I can actually put this little drawer in here. I'm so happy with this, to be honest. I really am. I love how this turned out. It just looks so clean and tidy, and I feel like a minimalist again. So hey, here we go. I think you can do this, whatever it is, whatever you need to declutter and whatever you want to get rid of. Just look at this mess. I mean, okay, I didn't get rid of all of my books, which was never the plan, but I kind of got them in order, and it is now in a state that I'm content with. And so I'm all sweaty and tired, and I'm gonna have some pizza now, I guess. So have a good day.